Okay, let's talk about something fascinating: the hidden educational power of tabletop role playing games. It's a journey that, believe it or not, starts in the middle of a full blown moral panic. Picture this: it's the 1980s, and the satanic panic is in full swing. Games like Dungeons and Dragons are being blamed for everything under the sun. The big fear, the one you'd see on TV shows like 60 Minutes, was that kids playing these games were literally losing their minds, unable to tell what was real and what was fantasy. But here's the twist. While all that panic was happening on the surface, some researchers started looking a little deeper. And they found that, far from losing their grip on reality, players were actually performing some pretty incredible mental gymnastics. So, what was really going on? Well, a sociologist named Gary Allen Fine figured it out. He saw that players were thinking on three different levels, all at the same time. You've got the self, which is you, the person sitting at the table, worried about who brought the snacks. You've got the strategist, the part of your brain trying to figure out the rules and win the game. And then you've got the character, the hero you're pretending to be in the story. So instead of losing one reality, players were expertly juggling three of them at once. Okay, so players are doing this super complex mental juggling act. So what, right? What does that possibly have to do with learning? Well, as it turns out, it has everything to do with it. This is where the world of gaming smacks right into the science of education. This brings us to a classic educational idea from Lev Vygotsky called the zone of proximal development. It's basically the sweet spot for learning. It's that space where a task is just a little too hard for you to do on your own, but you can do it with some help. And guess what? Tabletop RPGs are practically built to create this zone. The game master presents a tough challenge, and the players have to work together, stretch their skills, and collaborate to figure it out. And that leads to this really powerful concept called transformational play. The big idea here is that learning sticks when it's not just about memorizing facts. It's about being put in a situation where you have to use those facts to solve a real problem. You become the hero of the story, your choices have consequences, and that experience actually transforms you. Okay, the theory is solid, it makes sense. But if you're a teacher, you're probably thinking, great, now how on earth do I turn my lesson on fractions into an epic adventure? Well, there's actually a pretty simple framework for that. Meet the CATS framework. It's a lifesaver. And the most important rule here is that you don't start with the fun stuff. You start with the function. You have to begin with the content and academic skills you need to teach. That's your foundation. After that, you decide the tone of the game, define the specific subject matter, and only then do you get to create the concept, the cool story, the quest, the whole fictional wrapper. So let's put this framework to the test with frankly, a wonderfully weird and memorable example. This is how you make a potentially boring science topic something your students will never ever forget. Okay, the academic goal: teach kids how to use a dichotomous key to identify things. Sounds a little dry, right? Now, here's the concept. You are an apprentice to a village of mice, and you have to make mushroom porridge for all the baby mice. But some mushrooms are poisonous. If you use the key incorrectly, well, you poison the children. Suddenly, using that key correctly is the most important thing in the world. The stakes make the learning stick. And look, this isn't just a one-trick pony for bizarre mouse-based science lessons. The real magic here is how incredibly flexible this whole approach is. You can adapt it to pretty much any subject you can think of. The setting can be anything you need it to be. Studying medieval history? Cool, a fantasy kingdom works perfectly. Teaching physics? Awesome, why not set your adventure on a spaceship exploring a new galaxy? The theme just becomes a vehicle for whatever you need to teach. For example, check out this STEM module. Students are on a field trip to another planet. Everything seems fine, and then bam, a distress signal. A remote science station has been wrecked by a storm. Their mission? Hike out into the wilderness and use their knowledge of science and engineering to fix it. How's that for an engaging setup? And this is where it gets really clever. Forget about being a warrior or a wizard. In this game, your character class is a real-world career. You can choose to be a scientist naturalist, a doctor healer, an engineer inventor, or a computer scientist. It lets students try on these identities and see STEM careers as genuinely heroic. But what about the humanities? Can you use this for, say, a really dense piece of classic literature like the Greek tragedy Oedipus Rex? Absolutely. In fact, it might be the perfect tool. So instead of just dropping this ancient text on your students, you run a game first. They get to be citizens of Thebes before the play begins. They walk the streets, hear the rumors, see the strange omens, and maybe even face the Sphinx themselves. They get to feel the themes of fate and truth firsthand. So by the time they finally open the book, they're already invested. They're already part of the world. This all sounds incredibly fun and creative, but let's get down to brass tacks. For any educator, two questions are king. What do students actually learn, and can I grade it? Well, the answer to both is a big, loud yes. Because beyond your specific lesson plan, look at all the other things being taught here. These are those crucial 21st century skills everyone talks about. Creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, emotional intelligence. Every single one is constantly being flexed and strengthened during the game. And most importantly for the classroom, this isn't just unstructured, chaotic fun. It's active, observable learning. And anything that's observable can be measured in a meaningful way. Just take a look at a sample rubric like this. You're not grading right or wrong answers on a test. You're assessing things that matter more, like how well they collaborate, if their decision-making is thoughtful, and here's the big one, how effectively they apply what they've learned to solve the problems in the game. It's a true measure of learning in action. So we've gone all the way from a moral panic fueled by misunderstanding to a real science-backed understanding of these games as powerful learning engines. We've seen the theory and the practical application, which really just leaves us with one big question to chew on. If we know that purposeful, structured play is one of the most natural and effective ways that human beings learn, then why aren't we doing more of it?